Welcome to Becoming PowHERhouse, where we discuss the tough lessons I've learned while taking my two companies from negative revenue to over 7 figures. We'll talk about the raw and vulnerable truths about being boss, as well as tips and strategies you can implement immediately for better business results. I'm your host, Nicholle Overkamp, the founder and CEO of Wilcox Financial Group and PowHERhouse Coaching. You can see links and other resources in our notes. Don't forget to head over to PowHERhousemoney.com to grab your free PowHER bundle for business and subscribe to our newsletter. Now, let's dive in to today's episode. Getting a bad review. The one thing that we all fear, and then when it does happen, most of the time it just completely crushes the day or a mood. Or you might be one of those people who just really stew about it, overanalyze about it. You think you're over it until you're laying in bed at night and you're like, oh my God, how did this happen? So let's talk about it. Okay, my powerhouses, when it comes to getting a bad review, I challenge you to start looking at this as a gift. That's right, you heard me correctly. How can you look at this as a really nice present wrapped in a bow for the opportunity to learn, grow, or show your team how you lead by responding versus reacting? Oftentimes, if you are in business for more than a minute, this can happen. And if it hasn't happened to you quite yet, it will, because it's a numbers thing. And so just expect it and know that it's okay. It doesn't mean the kiss of death, but how we handle it is really important, not only from a response perspective, but then a reflection perspective. And how can we really keep this as a gain for our business? So the first thing to think about is when you get a bad review, is this an opportunity for growth? So for example, when your company is in a acceleration mode or you are growing and expanding, growth inevitably shows cracks. So that bad review may give you the opportunity to fix a problem you weren't actually aware about. Or aware of rather. And yes, it stings, it hurts the ego, it sucks to have other people see that. But if that review is absolutely justified, it gives you the ability to fix the problem, go back, see what happened, and correct it. And then perhaps you can also respond to that review in a way of hey, thank you so much for this gift of feedback. We're working on solving the problem. Please don't dismiss us as an organization. We're human, we're growing, we're learning. We'd love the opportunity to make it right and fix it, right? So a lot of the time, people won't give us the opportunity to fix the problem or give us the feedback directly before posting a bad review. And that is unfortunate and it sucks. And I wish they would, of course, always come to us first, but that doesn't always happen. And if they did come to you first, you didn't help rectify, solve the problem, or maybe somebody on your team didn't, and then they posted a review, that may be an internal issue. And so it's a coaching opportunity with your team to say, hey, what happened? Did we do all we could do? Let's talk about the process for when somebody has an issue, problem, or complains. And often it's very figure outable. And it's one of those, hey, I didn't realize how to handle this, or I didn't understand my response okay. So also really important. And then another thing to keep in mind is some people are just nuts. So you could solve the problem. You could give them everything on a silver platter and they'll still leave a bad review, and that's okay. Sometimes that's just what people do and they suck. However, you do have the opportunity typically to respond to those reviews online in a very graceful way to be able to defend yourself. So there's that. And another thing to think about too is when someone leaves a bad review or yells at an employee, it could be that your company messed up or you need to fix something. Or it could be that the customer was also wrong. And it's a good way, an opportunity for you to stick up for your team, to stick up for your company and say, hey, just because you did this doesn't make it right. Just because you're leaving a bad review doesn't make you right. And sometimes we get so terrified of bad reviews that we'll bend, break, do anything to either avoid it, fix it, or not have it happen. When in truth, sometimes let them leave that review so I can respond, because I am not letting them control the narrative like that. I am not letting them take advantage of my team or the company or whatever the case may be. And so what I think sometimes we have to ask ourselves the question of is, if this happens, will I respect myself more or less? And then move forward from there. And so another thing too with bad reviews is that keep in mind of that 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Respond versus react. It is very easy to get hot or explode or really upset in front of your team members, but just take a beat, digest it, and then that can really help you as far as the response. And I'd encourage you to not respond right away. Take a minute, even if it's a few hours, to really think this through. If you have outside advisors, depending on what it is, maybe consult with them, because sometimes it's nice to have that neutral perspective or opinion on how to handle something. And this could even be, somebody emailing you asking for a refund, whatever the case may be. Always go through that and those logistics, and then try to not let it destroy you. I've had so many conversations with clients of ours who they got a bad review. I got a message saying oh, I'm having the worst day ever. This ruined my day. And I can't believe it. And they're just in this disbelief, and this anger spiral starts, or this overwhelm or anxiety. And that doesn't help. It only adds fuel to the fire. And sometimes it clouds your ability to respond gracefully and or just literally fix the problem and move on, because no one is worthy of eating up your brain space, your day, and your time like that. So keep that in mind as well. All of these things are so important as you are growing your business and feedback happens. And so it's just important to, number one, keep an open mind, see how this feedback can help you, whether it is coming up with a better solution in your business, changing or shifting communication within your organization, in your team, or maybe it's just one of those things that you can't change, can't fix, and you just need to stand up for yourself and your company. That's okay too. And then using it in a positive way versus letting it drag you down and ruin your day, because it's just not worth it. So that is all I have for you, my powerhouses. A quickie little tip today. Until next time, continue to be courageous. Thanks so much for listening to Becoming PowHERhouse. You can find all of the links to our site and resources in the show notes. Let's connect on Instagram at PowHERhouseMoney, and don't forget to subscribe to our newsletter at PowHERhouseMoney.com. Remember, I want to connect with you. I want to hear your thoughts and help you with all the challenges you're having. So engage, send me a DM. And of course, if you're loving this podcast, let us know and go ahead and hit the subscribe button and leave a review.